What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here to break down the Atlanta Falcons making some moves, finally. They haven't made many moves this offseason. New regime in Atlanta, new coach with Arthur Smith, new defensive scheme with Dean Pease, and that means new players on defense, new fits. Duron Harmon is going to be one of those fits at free safety, who comes from, of course, New England, winning Super Bowls there, Detroit with Matt Patricia, and now finds his way to Dean Pease in Atlanta. They also signed Cordero Patterson, kick returner, four-time All-Pro, one of the greatest kick returners for my money of all time. So two exciting players here for the Atlanta Falcons. They have not done much this offseason, but I really do like these two signings. Before I give you my full thoughts and analysis on Cordarrelle Patterson and Duron Harmon signing with your Atlanta Falcons, make sure that you do spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more NFL analysis just like this. Let's kick it off with my man, the closer. That is what I call him, the closer. That's his name, Duron Harmon. At least that's been his name in New England. And yeah, probably not in Detroit. He only spent, I believe, a season there in 2019, although any season in Detroit probably feels longer than just 1 year. But Duron Harmon has been known for his clutch play over the course of his career. He is not a guy that is a star. He's not a big name. He's not really even recognizable to a lot of people, despite playing in a lot of high-profile games. But to Patriots fans like myself, this is a player that I really love, and I think he's going to fit perfectly into Dean Pease' defense because it's very similar to Bill Belichick's scheme in New England. It is fairly similar to Matt Patricia's defense in Detroit. And Duron Harmon, his biggest skill set as a safety is his coverage ability, his intelligence. He is a very, very, very smart player. And that's why he's been nicknamed the closer, because at the end of games, he always seems to be in the right place at the right time for that key interception to close out games. And I know you Atlanta fans understand that you haven't been good at closing games out. So maybe a guy named the closer will help you do that. But Duron Harmon, in all seriousness, is a very good player. He's going to bring leadership to a very young secondary in Atlanta, and he's going to bring just overall high football IQ. He's also somebody with the scheme change this offseason. This is drastically different defense, guys, right? Dean Pease, in comparison to Dan Quinn, these are the exact opposite, okay? So Duron Harmon is going to come in there, be that veteran presence, and probably bring almost a coach on the field vibe for this secondary, where he can help these players throughout training camp, throughout the season, figure out their way in certain coverages, certain leverages that they want to play, certain things and little tweaks to their play to make them better players. So I see this move far more than just a player who is more likely than not to start for this defense and play as their primary free safety. If not, he has made a name for himself as a third safety. That's kind of what he did in New England for most of his time there, playing behind Devin McCourty, who was one of the best free safeties in the game, and played as the third safety, that deep free safety in the middle of the field, while it allowed Devin McCourty to maybe man up a tight end. They had Patrick Chung in the box, and then that's kind of where Duron Harmon made his plays. Deep center field, right? That's where he got his interceptions. And this is the type of player, too, that stats will not always indicate how good he is. But let's take a look at the stats with Duron Harmon. So, Duron Harmon, safety number 11 entering free agency for me. Still a very solid player. I ranked him as a high-end third safety and a low-end starting free safety in the NFL. So he is a solid player for your defense. Now, last season, was graded as one of his worst of his career. He is getting a little bit older. I believe he's just entering his 30s, maybe early 30s. And of course, he played with Detroit. Their defense, just an utter disaster. So I don't know how much you can really take into account because that defense was so bad. Like, I understand Atlanta's defense is not great, but you cannot get worse than the supporting cast around Duron Harmon. So I would take that into account because everybody on that defense was graded pretty poorly in Detroit. So in terms of interceptions, he had 2 last year. He plays the ball well. Like I said, very, very smart player, high football IQ that will act as a coach on the field and will make big plays for your defense. He is somebody that you'll like, I think, if you like the same type of safeties that I like, which of course are those smart guys, of course the guys that play the ball, of course those guys that are great in coverage. And a lot of the times with Duron Harmon, as I alluded to, the stats aren't going to indicate his impact because his primary job is to not give up the big play, right? That's his job. Don't let anybody behind you. Don't give up the big play. And that's what he'll be tasked with in this defense. Now, in terms of versatility, I think with his age, he hasn't become more versatile. He's kind of a one-dimensional player, and that is as a coverage player. Not to say he's a bad, tackler. He's a solid tackler in the open field, but he's not like a big hitter. He's not going to be a guy like a Keanu Neal who comes down and just smack in the box and all that stuff and play the run game. That's not really his style, right? Man-to-man isn't really his thing. He's okay at it, but that's not what you would ask him to do in an ideal world. So that's the way I look at Duron Harmon, a very good player in his role, which is to be that deep, roaming free safety in this type of defense. Now, the other signing, as I alluded to earlier, was, of course, Cordarrelle Patterson, who is arguably, and I don't even want to say arguably, the best kick returner of the 2010s, and had another fantastic year last year where he led the NFL in kick return yards, had a touchdown in there. He's also been used, remember, former first-round pick, as a receiver. He has skills there. He also has skills playing as a running back. And that's going to be interesting to see how Arthur Smith uses him, not just as a kick returner, but on the offense. Maybe they use him as a little hybrid weapon. He plays a little running back. Maybe he plays a little third down running back, okay? Maybe he's even a little power back. We've seen Cordell Patterson, come in there on a 3rd and 1 because he's so tall, right? He can just easily reach over that line on a 3rd and 1. I mean, it's not an ideal scenario, but he can certainly do it. I mean, I've seen games where he started at running back. I've seen games where he's been a big threat down the field as a receiver. So he'll provide depth in a multitude of ways and an impact in multitude of ways. Let's take a look at Cordell Patterson's statistics. Like I said, 4-time All-Pro. 35 kick returns a year ago, which was probably amongst the league there. And like I said, return yards was the league lead with over 1,000 return yards. He averaged 29 yards per return. Remember, touchbacks 25. So basically every time this guy's touching the ball, he's getting an extra 4 yards. And he tries to return as much as possible because I'm sure coaches have told him, hey man, you're one of the best, if not the best. You can return the ball as much as you want, even if you're deep back into the end zone. So the question will be with him is as he keeps getting older, how much longer can he be this effective returner? I remember that Devin Hester played in Atlanta, and he played his later years in Atlanta. He wasn't quite the player he was in Chicago, but had a couple productive years there. Maybe it's a similar thing with Patterson where he finishes this year, the next couple of years, maybe in Atlanta long term. He seems to fit the Atlanta Falcon vibe. I totally see him in the uniform and everything. I think he'll be a sick player, cool player there. So I think that these are 2 awesome signings. As you can tell, they're not crazy or anything. You're not spending huge money on it. They're both 1-year contracts. Patterson's a 1-year, $3 million. I did not exactly hear what Harmon's contract is. My guess would be around $3 to $5 million, somewhere in there. And they'll both make an impact, both in key roles. One as a returner and a hybrid offensive weapon, and the other as a free safety. So let me know, Atlanta fans, how you feel about this move here. These 2 moves and these signings. Harmon and Patterson to the Falcons. Let me know in the comment section below. It's Mitch. If you enjoyed, make sure you do Gronk, spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more BLV. Peace.